That's right. It's the WINNERWELL medium tent stove. And it's back. And we're going to do some modifications. So stick around. Welcome back, everybody. So after my first burn and messing around with this WINNERWELL stove, you know, out of the box it's pretty decent. I only have a few complaints, and we're going to try to address some of those complaints in this video. First complaint is the sharp edges. Around the legs down here, sharp edges. In this doorway, and in this this cooking plate, the edges of it are really sharp. Same thing in here. So to rectify that, we're going to break all these sharp edges with some sandpaper and a file. Second thing, when I had this fully loaded with wood and burning, even when I had this air control here completely closed, that fire was still kind of roaring. So I know I'm getting some air leakage up here around this this cooking hole, but after examining everything here, I'm getting air leakage around this window, which is fine. I don't mind that. Same thing around the air control door here. There's air leakage. But I was measuring this lip here and this outer lip of the door, and in between these two, there's a good 3/16 of an inch gap between, like if you line these up, going from here up and all the way around, there's a pretty big gap. Now, part of that's probably for metal expansion, because the main body of the stove is going to heat up quicker than the door, and that's fine. But there's no seal on the inside of this door at all, like a traditional wood stove. So I imagine I have quite a bit of air coming around this door when it's closed and being sucked right in all around here. Well, that's one of the things I want to address in this video. Now, I went and got a kit, which I'll show you here in a minute, and we're going to try putting a seal in here, and we're going to see if that makes a big difference in the burn rate. So let's get started. So I went to my local hardware store and I found this Imperial gasket. It's a 1/4 inch rope type gasket, and pinching it, it can compact down quite a bit. So this was, looking at the receipt here, the gasket, it's 6 feet of gasket, it's $6.99. So $7. The cement, which you got to get too, this is $4.79. And when I was there, I grabbed a little wire brush so I can kind of clean around here a little bit better. So that's my supplies. Tools I'm going to need to do this is an 8mm hex Allen, and I got a 5/16 inch little wrench. I'm not sure what the metric size of this nut here is, but a 5/16 fits it pretty well. The first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to remove the glass, because we're going to be taking the door off here, and I do not want to break the glass. So there is a thumb screw right here. We'll go ahead and remove that. And you just heard that little pop. That's a piece of stainless steel that kind of pops out the side there. This kind of acts like a spring under tension. This thumb screw, when it's through there, is through this outside portion of it. You can actually see a little mark right there. So I'm going to set that aside. And now we can just push the glass out like that. There's our glass. We do not want to break that, so I'm going to put that way over here out of the way of what I'm doing, along with the thumb screw and the other part. And there's one more piece in here. And between those two pieces, framing the glass on each side, it gives it a little bit of pressure to kind of hold the glass in place. And I'm going to put that over here. Okay, glass out of the way. Now, we're going to want to take our wrench and our Allen, and we're going to loosen these nuts up. We're going to see if I can do this around the camera. Yeah, apparently I can get in here and do it. If I can get these loose enough, I can probably take them off by hand. There we go. For a second there, I was going the wrong direction. There we go. Almost. There we go. That's one nut. Let's get the other one. Once I have these off, we can just take that door right off, which is going to make putting this seal on a lot easier. And one thing you'll want to notice as we're doing this, the hinge for the door is below this tab and above this tab that is welded to the main body of the stove. At least this is in my model. It might be different on other ones. There we go. Okay. Alright. Got the door removed. Now I'm going to take these nuts and bolts, and I'm going to set them over here with the other pieces of the glass and such. Keep everything out of the way. So let me get everything set up here, because I'm going to remove this out of the way so we have more working area here, and I'll bring you right back. We got the door here. I got a piece of packing foam from the box, and I'm just going to go along the inside here, this inside channel, where I'm going to put the cement, and I'm going to put the rope, and I'm just going to make sure that there's nothing here to mess with the cement. Just get in here as much as I can. Okay. Now I got a little bit of rubbing alcohol. Paper towel. I just want to make sure I remove any of the oils from my hands or anything like that from the surface, so we just have bare metal inside here. So, and it's also going to take up a lot of that soot. Yeah. Alright. And one thing you'll notice now that we got the door off, you can see that there's about a fingernail width gap around that air control, which is fine. I don't mind that. I just want to try to control the airflow around here. So we got that all done. Now let's get ready to We got to figure out the length of our gasket, get it cut, get it ready, and then glue it in. Got the little gasket going on here. We're going to use little clamps. Ooh, here's some sirens outside. Hope everybody's okay. And we are going to hold this in place, and we're just kind of going around here to try to get the size, and hopefully this works out. Alright, so I'm going to cut it a little long and trim it when I get down here after I put the cement. So I'm going to guess right about there. Okay, and I got plenty of gasket left over. So if I need to change that out at a later time, police up any stray pieces, because this is fiberglass, you don't want to get it everywhere. Okay, I'm ready to take that all off. Oops. Okay, here goes nothing with the gasket adhesive. Okay, let's see if we can get this. Turn this so I can see what I'm doing. James, what are you doing, cat? See, James decided to come inspect everything. What are you doing up here, guy? I'm a little busy. Come on, get down. Alright. Catus interruptus ovaris. Let us proceed. Getting these corners, because I don't want to put too much of this cement, but I don't want to put too little either. So I'm kind of trying to even it all out, but the corners are tricky. Alright. Alright. Let's hope that this works. Put the cap back on. Trim this just a bit. Alright, now I'm going to put this gasket to where the break in it is here toward the bottom. At least that's what I'm trying to do. If I can just get this all to line up now where I want it. Ah, see that? I'm getting the stuff all over me. All right. Boy, this stuff's kind of like messing with some kind of paint. Before you know it, you got it everywhere. Okay. I can tell I'm going to be doing quite the scrubbing here in a little bit. I just want to get it in place and let it start to set up, and then we gotta basically throw it back on the stove and close the door. At least that's what the directions said. Man, this stuff is all over the place. I'm running out of clamps. Okay. I'm going to give it a little bit of time to set up like that, and going to go get me some Q-tips and stuff and try to clean up some of the excess that's spuging out, and I'm going to try to wash this stuff off my hands. So I'll be right back. I've let this set for about 15 minutes to where it starts getting tacky. This cement, it kind of starts to get the consistency of tar. Okay, it's starting to get tacky, so that's what we're going to let it get to. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to start removing my clamps, wiping them down, making sure I don't have any of that goop on them. And then we're going to go ahead and close this door. We're going to put a little bit of paper over this, and that'll help clamp it in place. And then I'm going to move it to the furnace room of my house where it's nice and warm and let it finish doing what it needs to do. That right there needs to be clamped a little bit longer. And we will see if this stuff ultimately sticks or not. I didn't see anything on the tube about stainless steel, so I don't even know if this is going to work. If it works, you're all going to see it online. If it doesn't, nobody but me will ever know that I tried this. Alright. Yeah, that spot right there is being those two corners. Alright, I'm going to give this a few more minutes at these corners, because apparently they need a little bit more time to get sticky. And then we're going to come back. I've given this another good 10 minutes to set, and it's staying where I want it. Okay, we'll wipe these down. I gotta work quick because I don't want that to move. Okay, even that corner there is pretty much staying where I want it. Alright, they say put newspaper over this and close the door, and that's to keep it from sealing all the way up. So let's see if we can get that done. Let's see if we can even get the door closed. Oh yeah. Yeah. Alright. I think this will work. There we go. Now, I just want to make doubly sure that that seal is all where I want it to be. Okay. We're just going to let that, I'm going to move that to the furnace room, give it a couple hours to set up, and then we're going to take a look at it. It's been almost 3 hours. According to what I was reading here on the back of the cement, it says 2 hours or until dry. So let's see what we got. I don't see any on the paper. And if we look, yes, James, I'm shooting a video. Stuff appears to be dry. So there's our gasket. The door shuts pretty tight now. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So I kind of tightened up these screws a little bit so the door won't easily move around. But one thing I have noticed, since I got that gasket on there, I gotta kind of put a little bit of force, but that door locks up. So I'm gonna say the air gap that I had around this door is probably sealed. One thing I wanted to point out before we go on to the next thing I'm going to change about this stove is I got all the sharp edges here and here taken care of with sandpaper. And one thing I have found, if you notice, you look at the lid, you'll see that scratch ring. That was from this sharp lip that was all the way around here. Well, that lip is now taken care of, and now Now, when this plate goes in, it turns like super easy. Before it was really grinding metal on metal, and that was making it like super difficult to manipulate with the tool they give you, the ash scraper multi-tool. So, you know, break all your sharp edges, especially on the legs. That was the other thing, is I broke all these sharp edges here on the legs. Now I don't have to worry about cutting myself when I'm deploying it. Alright, we have got this the seal in here, and the cement is set up, and it is stuck to that door pretty good. The door closes a little hard right now. You got to kind of bear down on this, but it does close. I think after we fire this again, that gasket will really take a good shape and will be good there. I got the glass back in, so we're all good. Now, the next thing we got to do. When you look inside this stove, I'm going to show you here, and we're going to zoom in. When you look at this stove, this is the rail right here that the grate sets on. There is a cavity. See where my finger is? There's a cavity under here on each side. Well, your scraper tool can't get underneath that cavity. See? And ash tends to build up underneath there. So then when you're done and the stove is cooled down, I was having to pick this whole stove up and shake it like this to get that ash out. So what I think a good solution is, I measured this. This cavity under here is under 3/4 of an inch. Alright? So if I take this scraper and I grind this round section off to where this whole thing is square or rectangle, and it's 3/4 of an inch, then I'll be able to get under this side or this side and get the ash out. So that's what we're going to do next. We are going to grind this guy down to fit in here. So we've got a nice fire built in here after our modifications and adding the seal on the door, and it does seem to make a difference. So you see I got it fully loaded. I got a nice fire burning in there. I'm going to close the air control. And if you give it a moment, the flames, they don't completely die down, but they do get a little bit less. You see that? How it's went down? We still got a little bit of air leakage around the glass and around this air control, which is fine, and around this cooking plate up here on top, which is fine. Oops. My strings from my hoodie are getting in the camera. I'm sorry about that. So you can see the flames have went down. This, with the dampener, right now I got the dampener all the way open. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little turn. Now, you see how those flames have went way down? Maybe I'll open that dampener just a bit more. This is about how I would set it, so it would burn as late and as many hours as possible. So this would be like an overnight burn. I'll open the door and you'll see the flames shoot up. See that? It's fully loaded. Okay, I'm gonna open this air control back up. I'll open that dampener on the flue back up, and we're gonna let this baby get back going again. So seal around the door did make a difference. Yep, the flames are coming right back up. Yeah. So this is, I would say, a success. But I think I need to find some better gloves because I melted part of my glove here on the door. Right here. Holy smokes. Let me see if I can scrape that off. Yep. That's from my glove. So I think I need to find some dedicated stove gloves. What do you think? Alright. Well, we're going to let this burn down and we'll go back in the house. Well, our fire is burnt all down. I just see a few live coals in the back. Let me get this grate out of there. Alright. Let me get my container to catch all this so I don't make too big of a mess. There we go. Now, if you haven't noticed, this got trimmed down so I can get underneath these spots now. So, we'll go ahead and get everything out of here. Yep, I can get right under those rails now. Alright. One thing, the amount of noise that makes, you're gonna wake up everything in the woods, that's for sure. Look at all that ash that came out from underneath there. Okay, I'm just gonna let this all cool down and pack it back up and take it back inside. I'll see you in there. Got the stove all packed up back inside. I would say that's a success. I definitely have more control over the burn rate now. After I shut the camera off, I left this shut and I left the dampener up here, not quite at a 40-degree angle. And I just went and did other things around the yard and stuff, and an hour later I came back and those two logs that I had in there, they were burnt, kind of burnt down, but they're like one big solid bed of coals. And this thing was still radiating a good amount of heat. And as soon as I opened up the airflow here and started letting air in, man, some flames shot up. It was crazy. So, good mod. This, putting a actual seal in here made just a huge amount of difference. You know, that, breaking all the sharp edges, so this top plate goes on and off really easy, you know. And I'm not cutting my hands, or almost cutting my hands here on the legs when I deploy it. The door shuts a little bit harder now because of that seal, and that's fine. Burnt the hell out of my gloves. That's all burnt. That's all burnt up. So I need a pair of welding gloves, I think, to go with this stove. But if you have one of these WinnerWell stoves, I highly recommend these mods. You might even want to go in here if you want even more air control. And let me show you what I'm talking about here as I illustrate. These points right here, the frame for the glass comes through, and this is just holes, and it's kind of like bent over. Well, this is where this and around the glass itself is where you get a lot of air leakage as well. So if you wanted to, you could take some of that cement that we use here to put this gasket in, and you could plug up these holes. Alright, plus there's a big hole here where the hinge is for the air control. It's right, whoops, I'm out of camera. There's a large hole here, and that's where the hinge comes through for this air control. So if you really wanted to, you know, control as much air as possible, you could do all that. And then the only air leakage you would have is right around here, because this door is not airtight, and around the glass itself, which is just fine. Oh, and the cook plate up here. You're going to have air leakage being sucked in there, and that's fine. So that about does it for this video, and I'll see you all later out in the woods.